What's good, everyone? Wayne the Unknown here, and welcome back to another episode of Cosplay Con Talk, where we basically discuss everything pertaining to the cosplay community and conventions. I'm joined here by Alexa, also known as Eh Okay Cosplay, who you may remember them from the Disability and Cosplay podcast panel from a few months ago. How you doing, Alexa?
I'm good, and I'm really excited to be here and do a one-on-one interview with you this time.
Again, thank you for coming back. So I'm
Yeah, of
sure you're
course.
familiar with Get to Know That Cosplayer. Basically, those who are watching will know what it's like being a cosplayer, how long you've done it, what stuff like that. So to begin,
Yeah,
how long have you been cosplaying for now?
goodness. I mark my official cosplay start as Anime North, a convention here in Canada, well, Toronto specifically, 2017, because that's when I first debuted, I guess, a maid cosplay, something I worked on. Before that, I like threw casual cosplays together, whatnot, but I mark May 2017
So
as
you've
my
been
start.
cosplaying
Yeah,
18, 19, 20.
a few
So
years. I'm bad
so
at math,
five so
so I,
5 years it would be.
yeah, yeah.
Nice. And you said what was your very first convention up there?
Anime North.
Anime North.
Yeah.
I'll ask more about that later on in the interview. Do you remember what your very first cosplay was for that convention when you started 5 years
I
ago?
I do, because I'll keep the story short, but there is a story behind it. It was Asuna from Sword Art Online. And the long and short of it was I tried to make it on my own. Didn't go very well because I took the measure once, cut twice approach and ended up getting my mom's help. And she worked into the wee hours of the morning of the convention, day of the convention, to help throw something together and finish it up. So you can call it a cosplay, but it's a conglomeration of fabric, is what I also like to
Would that
call
have
it.
been her white and red outfit from Sword Art Online?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
How did you go about doing the wig? Or did you buy the wig, try to make the wig?
I didn't actually even wear a wig at the time. I didn't even really realize wigs were a thing because I was just so new to the world of cosplay. And yeah, I natural hair.
I mean, it happens to the best
Yeah.
of us. We don't know about these
Yeah.
things until later on.
Yeah.
So Anime North, what was that like?
Yes.
I've never heard of that con before, and
Yes.
I've interviewed some another person who lives up in that area, but I've never heard of Anime North before.
Great White North. uh, Anime North is a convention for fans by fans. It's one of the largest, I believe, in Canada, at least Ontario for sure. And it takes place at the Toronto Congress Center by the airport. And it's very weeby, is what I how I like to describe it in the best way possible. It's um, wide open space, lots of indie artists, lots of fun activities and panels to go to. There's never a dull moment, and the guest lineup is always pretty stacked. And I just find that I am happy and I enjoy myself whenever I go. And my partner and I have been going every year that it's run since 2017.
So this
Because of
would
COVID, it didn't run. Technically, I think this is our third or fourth. Let's see.
that
Yes, right there.
that's
Exactly.
I've looked like for anyone
Uh,
wondering, here's like a good example of how big one of their halls are.
oh, yeah, huge. And
That's
they have panels. Yeah, they have panels at I want to say adjacent hotels, but adjacent is a strong word because you also have to walk like 20 minutes to one of the hotels, and that's over a hill, like that goes, it's an overpass, it goes over a highway,
so
but like
I imagine people will
nearby.
just drive there to see a panel.
Sometimes, yes. And a lot of people do like try to stay at hotels, but they're rather expensive. And most people are from like the GTA Greater Toronto area. And the convention generally gives out like discounted weekend passes. But I find like unless there's a panel you really want to go to, and it's at, I believe it's the Sheraton. That was the one that I went for a Final Fantasy panel, the far one. It, most people just kind of like hang out around the con or even lobby con, like stay outside. But it is worth it to go inside and see everything.
Oh,
Never a dull
I
moment.
believe it reminds me of a
Yeah.
con in Sacramento called Sac Anime.
Yeah.
They have the main hotel, the Sheraton Grand, where you can get like the
Yep.
badges and everything, or like where
Yeah.
they have their raves, and they have the convention, literally like a 2 minute, like not even not even like a minute
Yeah.
walk. And the
Right.
fact you have to walk 20 minutes to go see a panel, that's crazy. I mean, kudos to those who can do that. Cause I like, you know what? I'm just gonna stay here at the convention because you know
Bitch.
I don't need to go to the I don't
It's
need to
true.
I don't want to, especially like I can see I imagine
I
people
feel
will
that.
I imagine people will drive or get dropped off to go see these panels.
I know. And thankfully there are buses, but they're generally like packed. So we didn't even bother this year.
Packed with a
There
bunch
was
of
a Final
weaves.
Fantasy. Weebs, stinky weebs too. Put on deodorant if you go to a convention, please. But
To
yeah,
quote a good friend of mine,
yeah.
who's been on here, wash your ass.
Basically, yes, please. Just a quick rinse.
Deodorant does not count as staying
Shower,
clean.
right?
Just like energy drinks aren't a source of food at a con.
Yes.
Save that extra
Good in a pinch. Yeah.
save that extra money. You know, if
Yeah.
don't like spend that on some merch. Save it for it anyway.
Exactly.
What has it been like cosplaying over for the past 5 years? Like, what made you
Ooh.
get into it?
Yeah. Oh man, I think it actually was my partner Johnny who we just celebrated 6 years together actually. And
Congratulations.
yeah, thank you. I always love a good excuse to show him off. Yeah,
Hi,
last
Johnny.
week
You're
we
being mentioned in this
celebrated.
show.
Exactly. He'll see this later. Shout out to Johnny. But yeah, I think it was him that got me into it because I was going through I'm gonna say a low point in my first year of university, and I needed something creative to kickstart me, get me back into my groove. And he had mentioned like, hey, you really like this show because he got me into anime, and because he was like, you might like this. But then he was like, you know what? You could also cosplay. And I was like, cosplay? What's this thing? He's like, I know it's where people just like they make costumes, they dress up as characters and stuff. Is that something you would want to do? And I was like, mayhaps. And I looked into it and there are so many things I didn't know and things I knew I wish I knew sooner, things oh my goodness that like nobody told me that like I nobody told me I didn't have to make the thing and whatnot, but that's how I started. And I found that I just loved creating and I found different ways to create through cosplay. And that's what kept me like what why I stuck with it over all these years. Yeah.
So I noticed something in the back that on the mannequin. What is that you're making right there?
I know it's dark. We don't have ceiling lights. I'm very sorry. So I'm gonna try to angle my light here just a little bit. It might be a bit bright on my face, but hopefully you can see my
I
stuff a bit better.
I can see that.
Here we go. Yeah, perfect. So this is actually, I'm fixing it up now, but what I wore to Anime North this year, and it's my Final Fantasy 14 Dancer's Artifact Armor. Um, Artifact Armor, real quick for anyone that would like to know, is think characteristic armor or clothing a class or a job, as they call it in Final Fantasy, would wear. So when you think of, let's say, a mage, you probably think of really long robes and a staff, possibly like a large hat. Well, for dancers, at least the male dancer armor, it's the black vest, this waistband with panels, and as well as harem pants, baggy pants here. They do also have this black and part. Yes, that's actually what I use as one of my reference photos, the aura dancer. Um, the dragon people is what I like to call them. But yeah,
That's a lot of intricate detail.
yeah, and actually for this, I didn't do any of the detail for the convention because as I mentioned in the other panel, like I have ADHD, so I have a hard time finishing things, seeing a project through to the end. So I told myself for this, have it wearable, have everything complete, like the base, like clothing complete. And that's why it looks the way it does. And I'm working on, hopefully I can turn this around without things getting too messed up. Oh no, I don't actually have it pinned. I'll have to show everyone another time, but I'm working on the decals on the back. So on the back panels, there are what look like little hearts. And I had noticed that those hearts are, for anyone that doesn't play the game, I know everything I say will sound rather foreign, but I'll try to keep it simple. The hearts are actually the symbol for one of the abilities that dancers have called dance partner. And so on your hotbar, you'll see like that same symbol. And that's actually a detail that will eventually go on the back here.
Nice.
And so I don't know. Sorry, I lost my train of thought. Train was
No,
going somewhere. Didn't get to the
you're
destination.
perfectly fine. No judgment here or anything. Well, that's pretty good. I mean, I even seen the picture of the cosplay on your Instagram, which will also be shown on here, of course. And it looked like it
Sure.
was really
This.
very detailed. Where did you get your where did you get the shoes and your chest binder from?
Oh, my binder is from GC2B. It is the racerback style for anyone that would like to know. And I believe, again, I'm going to mention this because I know I have a hard time like finding binders and clothing. I believe I was wearing a 3XL. For anyone that saw the like the photos on my Instagram and whatnot. Really comfortable style. I would recommend getting a size up, but and the shoes I also got from Amazon, but I will be dyeing them black just to match
Match
everything
the
better.
outfit.
Yeah, and because I didn't want to get point shoes because I know point shoes are basically a rite of passage for ballerinas, and also you can damage your toes and your ankles
So
if you don't
your
wear them
basic
properly.
you got your basic
Yeah, the slippers.
flat
Yeah,
ballet flat
yeah,
shoes. Nice.
plus yeah, exactly. Because I I didn't want to make a shoe or make a cover really for this, and I figured, you know what, those will be comfortable to dance in anyway. It's fine.
It makes sense.
So we have that. Yeah.
Um, so you make your own cosplays, correct?
Yes, there are some that I have not made, but I'll focus on the wig or the prop. But for the majority of my cosplays, either the whole thing is made or a large portion of it is made.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Do you remember what your very first cosplay build was?
Oh goodness.
Aside from
Ooh,
the Asuna one, I mean.
yeah. I was gonna say because the one where I didn't get any help with construction was Caliana from Critical Role. Uh, Mark Humes, they played her. They were a guest character, a guest player, so she was a guest character, and I just fell in love with the little half dragon girl.
Yeah, I remember you
And
telling
she
me.
was, yeah,
I remember you mentioning that
yeah,
one in the
thank
podcast panel a while back.
yeah. The long green cape, little horn, half face of scales, and that was actually for Hamilton Comic Con, uh, another city here in Ontario. I believe 2018, and that was actually for their masquerade, my first masquerade ever, and made her myself. She wasn't perfect by any means, but first like made myself, and that I could say on my own. Yeah,
Nice.
yeah.
Now, as someone who goes by they them pronouns, have you what's the most like you've cosplayed more male characters, or do you lean towards more female or a mixture of both?
At first, I used to be more female characters because I kind of aligned myself more with femininity. But then I found there was actually sort of like looking back, more of a transition phase where I was like, I can cosplay male characters. And this is kind of a defiance of like what it means to be female and what gender means to me. And like it was a little bit of a rebellious phase in a way, but I found it actually made me more confident in cosplaying in general because I was like, oh, I can be whoever I want and it doesn't matter, right? It was weird when before I would kind of like I think internally judge myself a bit like, oh, I shouldn't be cosplaying a female character or this male character because XYZ. Now I find I do lean more towards male characters because the male characters that I love and that I want to cosplay generally are like strong, independent, and have positive qualities and attributes. But there are a lot of female characters I admire and am slowly uh, becoming more comfortable
And there
with
is
costuming
nothing,
them.
as I always say, there's
Yeah.
nothing wrong with that.
Yeah. Oh
Um,
yeah.
so back to conventions. What advice would you
Mhm.
want to give for someone who's considering a first-time cosplayer con goer?
Ooh.
They don't want to go to a small convention. They want to go to a big convention. What advice would you want to give to someone who wants to go to a big convention as their first con?
Ooh, I would say first off, bring a friend,
Exit,
possibly like
bring it, bring an
yeah,
exit, as I say, bring a convention exit buddy.
but exactly, exactly. Preferably someone that has been to the con before. If not, someone who is willing to adapt to your needs. Because there are a lot of friends that'll say, like, oh, I'd love to go with you to something. But if you don't talk about your boundaries beforehand, like, oh, is it okay if we have a snack around this time? Or, oh, can we make sure we're like near a washroom, like little things? If they don't adapt to your needs, don't go with them. But I would say, yeah, take it easy. Look at the what's the word? Not schedule. Yes, I'm thinking of the pamphlet program. That's the word. Look at the program in advance so you can plan your route, plan your day, and if you do have the option to do so, go to the area beforehand. Like for the Toronto Congress Center, as far as I know, at least the outside area is open year round to the public. I'm not 100% sure about how they facilitate the indoors, but it is. So if you at least know like the bus route, you'll probably feel a lot more comfortable going there. But yeah, do also bring water, do bring snacks if they're allowed. I mean, be mindful of like nut allergies and the like, but bring that, bring your phone, bring a charger because that is something I have not done before.
Or one
Wall
of those or one of
charger,
those charge
yeah.
or one of those portable charger packs that
That's
you can
nice.
just like
Yep. That's
oh,
what I oh yeah, that's what I was thinking because like we forgot that before one year and we also forgot a wall plug.
oh
Not
no.
fun. It, no, I know, but you're running on like 10% battery after eating dinner at Harvey's at like 9 at night and you need an Uber. You learn to conserve
Oh
battery.
no, definitely.
You do.
That's some pretty sound advice, especially if you're going to be at the con longer than your
Yeah,
friends. You're going to need them to
friends.
pick you up.
That too. God, yep. Oh, do have someone to pick you up if possible. Like have someone on standby if you don't have another way back home.
No, no,
I would say just yeah.
wholeheartedly agree. Now,
Yeah.
also kind of in that same category, questioning, for someone who makes their own cosplays, what advice would you want to give to someone who wants to make their first cosplay? Like, not like buy it off of Amazon or Wish or whatever, but they or even have a commission, but like they want to make their very first cosplay. What advice would you want to give for that?
Set realistic boundaries. And I don't say that to dash anyone's dreams, but I'm saying that from experience because even now, I'll look at something and say, wow, I'm going to make that. But then I realize, there are a lot more steps to this than I initially thought. So look at the cosplay, decide if it's realistic or not after breaking down what parts need to be done, built, and also think about if you can modify it because I mean, there are some characters whose designs can be simplified and they'll still be completely recognizable. Um, also, think about your budget and your resources because, in all honesty, this was made with what I had in my stash because I hoard fabric
And
and
there's nothing wrong
this
with that.
fabric, yeah, right?
Excess, excess.
I mean, evidently.
I mean, you never know. I can tell you're the type of person to
Yeah.
never throw away fabric because you may never know what you're going to need it for your next project.
Exactly. And like further on that, this is actually just like sateen and I believe broadcloth. I have my interfacing inside, so like cheap fabric too. So, I mean, if this went to waste, I mean, I wouldn't want that to happen. But if it did, I wouldn't be losing money. Not environmentally friendly or sustainable, but I wouldn't have lost money on it per se. So I would say like look at what you already have, what you can already use, and also like think about your budget because fabric tends to cost more than you think it will.
Oh, I, I wouldn't doubt if it did.
Oh yeah.
Let's
So
see.
yeah, think about
Next.
the steps involved. Yeah.
Oh no, most definitely. So to your cosplays now, because that's
There
probably
we
my
go.
favorite thing to ask.
Yeah.
What's been that one cosplay you've not done in so long that you would want to do again eventually?
Oof. Thinking back on them, like, man, it's hard because they were purchase cosplays, but 9S and 2B, I really do love cosplaying them because I have it on the wall if you want me to bring it, but I have my machine sword that I made.
That
And
if you're wanting to,
yeah,
that's perfectly fine.
sure,
I've noticed some cosplayers have actually started showing their props and everything.
sure. Give me half a sec because it's literally right here. Hold on.
Oh wow, what's that made out of?
Yeah. It is made out of, I believe, floor mats, but foam. There is foam core board on the inside. These are actually googly eyes that I've melted with my glue gun
Yeah,
tip.
I remember someone telling me
Yeah.
that googly eyes are the best things
Yep.
to use as rivets for your cosplay.
Yes, it's true. And because I actually needed to sand down to like taper the edge a bit, this foam, because it was the floor mat foam, it didn't sand very well, but that's okay because it is supposed to look worn and rusted anyway. But what I did after sanding, because the sandpaper was also very cheap, is I don't know if it's still on here. No, it's probably fallen off after the years. But I ended up putting some sandpaper into the paint. It's hard to see, but it's
I
gonna be hard. I'll
I can
take detail shots later.
That's perfectly
Yeah,
fine.
but I added like the shavings essentially of the sandpaper that had fallen off, like on here to add more of a worn and rusted look.
Nice.
And this is just glue.
And
I should
that
paint over it, but
that looks like
yeah,
is the glue supposed to look like welding or?
kind of. I was like, oh, if I'm gonna glue it, I might as well have it look cool.
I mean, it
That
looks.
was
I
my
mean,
thought process.
How tall is 9S's sword?
Oh goodness, this is essentially a generic sword. Because it's the machine word, but it is almost his height, and I am 5'6" even, and this goes up to like at least my ribs. I believe with the handle, so it's a big boy, but really light. Yeah, just because foam
I mean,
broomstick handle.
it sounds like you had
Yeah.
a lot of fun cosplaying both 9S and 2B from Near Automata.
I'm at it. Oh, for sure. Especially with like this, it just makes me feel really badass. I get to wield a huge sword, and it's not a sword I've seen other people make. I love their swords. Like I believe it's Virtuous Contract and Virtuous Tree, but that they each have. And I am working on a Virtuous Contract now, but
Is
it's in
is
pieces.
that 2B sword?
But this, so yes, someone, I feel like someone will correct me, and that's okay. I mix them up. But yeah, I just feel like even though it's really simple and not a great sword in game, it's unique and it's mine, and that's why I love it.
Nice.
Yeah, put
N-
it here for now.
Now, what's that one cosplay that it was kind of a one and done? Like you did it once because someone asked you, or you wanted to try it, but it just wasn't really. It was just really wasn't something you were into, but you wanted to do it just for the hell of it.
I love. Hmm. I feel like there were a couple like that, but I did mostly for myself. More niche characters. Was Greta? There's a character from Grand Blue Fantasy that I'm so sorry, I completely forgot the name now because I haven't played in a hot minute, but she's this little dragon girl and whatnot, and I bought a wig and I made horns and I threw everything together, and I just didn't like the way I looked. And the same happened for Colonel Mustang from Full Metal Alchemist because I was like, oh, I have like stuff I can throw together to put together like a casual look. And I realized this isn't for me. I mean, I know I don't have to look exactly like the character, but this isn't even like like sisters not twin situation. This isn't even like there's no family relation here. There's no we are very different face shapes, different everything. And yeah, so those are the characters I tried and was just like, you know what? for someone else. That someone is, yeah, not me.
Makes sense. Now, what are like your top? Usually, I'll like say top five, but what are like your top three future cosplays? Like characters you've never, oh, no, you've never cosplayed, but you always wanted to try. Whether it's build like a big build, like a future big build, or stuff like that.
The thing is, like, I don't even want to use ADHD as an excuse, but with ADHD, I'm always having ideas or none at all. So asking me today will give you a different answer than tomorrow.
Yeah, that's
And
perfectly fine.
right now, I feel like, yeah, but I feel like right now, I actually want to keep working on the dancer's artifact armor or work on other artifact armors from the game because there are so many beautiful designs and I've loved playing Final Fantasy XIV. I'm obsessed with it. I'm obsessed with my friends' characters, my characters, like my goodness, like ask me about my Warrior of Light slash Darkness and you will not hear the end of it.
That's
So
perfectly
right
fine.
now it's, yeah, Final Fantasy. I'm just gonna like 14 specifically, just like broad. We'll leave it
Eh,
at that.
that's very, there's nothing wrong with that.
Yeah.
Now, another question I ask, which is probably my favorite. Any
Sure.
cosplay horror stories, whether it's like something like a bad experience, well, not really a bad experience, like a funny moment, like you had like a cosplay that like while you were going to the con, or even like attending a cosplay contest, something ripped, torn, fell off, or just completely just fell apart. Like ever have any of the a cosplay scary moment like that?
It's funny you should say rip and tear first because like I had an idea of what I wanted to mention and it was just like a little funny moment as Asuna. But then you mentioned that and this cosplay actually comes to mind because when I was taking those photos, like the ones where I was like spinning, whatever, and I
With
posted
the rabbit
that.
ears?
Rabbit ears, yes. More specifically Vieira, but one of the ears I had them hanging, and they need to be redone. But one of the ears, um, I actually because at one point, my friend and my partner were all hanging out, and my friend was taking the photo, and or our friend I should say, and I lifted my leg and like held it for a picture, like basically standing splits, and we didn't realize until I mentioned like, huh, I feel a breeze on my like on my the back of my thigh, and I was like, that's weird. So I touched like the back of my thigh. I was like, why feel my thigh? I shouldn't be able to feel it through my pants. So because our friend Elijah, he's been one of our best friends for nearly a decade. I trust him with everything. I turned around, I was like, please tell me if you see a hole. And I literally just like lifted one of the panels on the back here of the waistband, like here. And I was like, do you see anything? And he was like, I mean, no, there's a lot of fabric. So like if there is a hole, it's being covered right now. And I was like, oh, thank God. Like nothing. And I went to Johnny and was like, okay, do you see anything? If I move like this, it started, sword down. But I was like, if I like squat, if I turn, like, do you guys see anything? Because we're outside, just outside the convention center now. And we were resting actually before the Final Fantasy 14 panel at the 20-minute away hotel. So I was like, you gotta let me know. Gotta let me know how bad it is because I'm still going to that panel. And I forgot my safety shorts at home. I call them safety shorts because like if I happen to wear a cosplay that involves a skirt, I'll wear those. Or even if I'm just like get warm in pants, shorts. I forgot to pack them. The one day I forgot to pack them. But apparently it was all fine. Nobody was the wiser. Got back from the convention and immediately reinforced my seams. I thought I reinforced everything before, basically used zigzag stitch and a straight stitch. I thought I did all of that. Nope, it was just one straight stitch. And I was like, was because I didn't reinforce. So that was my most recent horror story, but
That's
it
it's never fun when
and
you're
it
at a
taught me a
it's
lesson.
never fun when you're at a
Always keep your
convention
seams.
and you just hear that rip or snap. from stories I've heard over
Yeah, or
the
feel that breeze.
oh that too.
Yeah.
So I know we're kind of on like a schedule here. One
All
last thing.
good. I do have a few more minutes. Sure.
Okay, well,
Good. If you do
I,
have more
I
questions,
guess I guess
I'm
I
here
guess
for
I
a few
guess so.
more.
Two questions.
Yeah.
So what's
Sure.
and this is a question I rarely ask, and I mean rarely ask. What's the one thing? Like,
Okay.
what's the thing you enjoy the most about cosplaying?
Ooh.
That's a question
I
I don't
feel
think
like the
I don't.
obvious answer. Yeah, go.
It's a question I haven't asked in a
Mhm.
while. Sorry. So what's the
Oh
one?
no, all
What's
good.
yeah? What's the one thing
Uh,
you've enjoyed about cosplaying?
time I cosplay, go out to a convention, whatever. There are always people that I meet, and I always make friends, make even just acquaintances, and that love for fandom and characters connects us. But other than that, like I would say on a more microcosmic scale versus macro, um, I think it's the learning new skills and seeing myself progress and succeed and fail and learn from that failure. Because I used to be really, I'm just going to say, not good at TM with failure, but cosplay taught me it's okay to fail. If you fail, you figure it out and you make it work for you. And honestly, it also like it's the planning as well. I've learned to love that. And those are sort of like my favorite parts of cosplay because now I can plan and I can work hard and learn from failure and produce what, even though simple, I consider my cleanest work to date and my most, it's not super professional by most people's standards, but like cosplay here, is very involved. It's actually my most involved piece. And I love being able to see a finished product as well. That's another favorite part. And being able to wear it as well.
I mean,
Yeah.
again, from like the past 5 years, you seem to enjoyed it, which I think honestly you should enjoy. If it's something you love, definitely enjoy it.
Of course. You keep with it, right?
Oh
And
no,
when the going gets tough, take a quick step back, reset, and get back into it.
oh, most definitely.
Yeah.
So one more question.
Mhm.
It's one I always try to ask at the end of these. Like
Sure.
what's some last minute advice you want to give to first time cosplayers, first time con goers who are
Yeah.
considering on wanting to give this hobby or this thing a try, or in general?
Yeah. Oh. Hmm. I don't want to say be fearless, but at the same time, be fearless because it does take a certain amount of bravery to be able to actually step out in a costume, even around other people in costume, and to be yourself. Like it is, in essence, it's like you're still yourself and you're scary experience. You're not, they'll perceive you, perceive the character you're cosplaying, um, whatnot. So, I mean, be, yeah, be fearless. Also, I don't know, is everything okay on your end? Because I think my internet is being a
Yeah,
little
it's
bit
we're
laggy.
almost we're almost done here, but yeah, no,
Ooh.
it's a little laggy, but we're almost done here.
Sure, I'll keep it, sure, sure, I'll keep it really brief then. Um, but I know when you're doing that sometimes, especially to have fun and allow yourself to have well because there is so much to be enjoyed through this play. It's a multifaceted I want to say experience. So yeah, allow yourself to have that fun. Yeah.
That's some pretty sound advice. Most definitely. I mean,
Yeah.
again, enjoy it, have fun, kind of thing.
Right.
Don't let the gatekeepers tell you, oh,
Mhm.
you can't cause this character or that character. Cosplay is for everyone, no matter your age, race,
Mhm.
whatever.
Amen. Very
Um,
true.
I think that should about do it again. Alexa,
Yeah.
thank you for coming on for a
No worries.
solo interview for Cosplay Con Talk.
Yeah. No
Uh,
worries. Thank you for having me.
Oh, you're
Yeah.
most welcome. And again, I am Wayne the Unknown. Until next time, thank you for listening. And as always, thank you for watching.